Wintermute is an OTC and liquidity provider in crypto. I think we are one of the top guys there. And basically, like the research team is kind of, like a mix of liquid fund, some like R&D stuff, and like incubations. So basically, trying to cover like almost everything important and cool in crypto.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Index podcast, where we come together every couple of weeks to discuss on-chain data, chart crimes, and metrics that move the crypto industry. Today, I am joined by Danning, on-chain corgi at Flashbots, Hildoby, resident data houser at Dragonfly,
Hello.
Igor, alpha hunter at Wintermute,
Hi, everyone.
and I am Boxer, and I am the community powers at Dune. Before we get into it, nothing we say here should be relied upon as legal, financial, investment, tax, or even life advice. We are acting independently of our respective professional roles. With that, welcome, Igor. Very, very happy to have you. And the context of this conversation today will be we will do a deep dive into EIP7702. And Igor and his team have made quite some waves on Twitter this week with a few articles kind of like picking up work they've done on Dune, researching the impact of EIP7702 and kind of like looking at the adoption, like how it's going. That's actually just facilitating crime. But we'll get into that in a second. First of all, Igor, who are you and what are you building right now?
Yeah, I'm Igor. I'm head of research at Wintermute at the moment. Yeah, just doing, like cool stuff. And also trying to do some public good stuff as well, like this dashboard, for example.
Yeah, very cool. How long have you been in this position, and how long have you been in crypto?
Okay, so in Wintermute, I'm for last like 2.5 years or so. So basically, like after FTX collapsed. But like overall, I started in crypto in late 2017 with just, like doing some arbitrage bots, then trading, doing some MEV with first version, like Compound or like Maker, Uniswap V1. And yeah.
Yeah, classic DeFi background, I see. Um, what does so Wintermute Research? I think you're or like is Wintermute Research part of like the Wintermute the trading firm, or is there like is this like a separate entity? Like how does that work?
No, it's actually not a separate entity. And like in general, like for the context, so Wintermute is an OTC and liquidity provider in crypto. I think we are one of the top guys there. And basically, like the research team is kind of, like a mix of liquid fund, some like R&D stuff, and like incubations. So basically, trying to cover like almost everything important and cool in crypto. Uh, yeah, I would say that we're also trying to achieve this with relatively like small teams. So all guys like extremely exceptional. To be honest, like the current team size is around like 5 guys. Yeah.
Okay, 5 people to cover everything that's happening in DeFi essentially. That's okay. Sounds like a cool job. Not literally, like sounds like a good gig. Maybe I think Danning, you are most familiar with EIP7702. So maybe if you can kind of introduce us to the topic, or maybe Pectra and EIP7702, that would be great.
I was gonna like follow up on how, like the DeFi traders, when they introduce each other, way to flex is like, oh yes, this is our address, and they would know each other by reading the address. And like the first time when I met like Wintermute people, I was at 0x, and they worked with them like for the market making stuff. And the first thing I said, I was like, oh, you are the the toxic flow, and like basically having the biggest taking volume on Uniswap. And I think Igor might have a different opinion, but yeah, they're doing good stuff. Yeah, Dobby, you had a question?
No, I was wondering why is Wintermute looking into EIP 7702?
Actually, like a good question. To be honest, we are looking at basically like everything that has some like real potential for adoption. And like obviously 7702, it just smooths the process for retail users. Just kind of like the first point here. And the second point is that it basically also unlocks a lot of new cool opportunities, like for security, for example, for white hats and like everything. So it's kind of like a geeky nerdy part, which I'm also quite excited about.
We wanted to, dive into this research today, which is focusing on the EIP7702's implication on the security side. But to recap the audience about what is EIP7702 and Pectra even, we covered it in a few episodes before with Christine Kim. So Pectra upgrade happened in May, and it supposedly have a few major components where there are a few, EIP that is trying to have more and cheaper blobs, actually like more blobs hoping to be cheaper, and then a few tweaks in the staking parameters to have like a higher cap on staking, faster stake and unstake process. And another important one piece is the hopefully better UX achieved by EIP7702. And so when we asked Christine King and many people how the ELI 5, like what does EIP7702 does, the way I was hearing is that it helps it enables your Ethereum wallet EOA temporarily act like a smart contract in one transaction level, and it will go back to normal. And so I don't know if Igor agreed with that definition, but my understanding is basically saying, hey, now you can delegate your wallets to allow it to call smart contracts, this and that, and it actually caused a lot of problems for data people already, right? Because a lot of time this transaction now basically have broken a lot of assumptions for people who actually using the past, where now this transaction will look like the from and to is exactly the same, the EOA. That's one thing I know. And so for example, orderflow.art, the website we built for tracking the routing for DEX flow, will pretty much break when people use EIP7702, because we're tracking the two addresses as the identified router. And now we will have to go down to the traces to find the routers to map it out. But yeah, supposedly EIP7702 enables a bunch of features like gas sponsorship, and you can batch transaction where you don't need to approve for one transaction and then swap again. So now supposedly UX will be better if you do a DEX swap. And supposedly it has a customized security where you can have a specified time range you want to enable the delegation, and potentially session key and others. And so I don't know if others agree and have a different explanation. So please, maybe Igor, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, going back to this ELI 5 definition, so it's kind of correct, but it's at the same time, it's kind of the oversimplification of everything, because actually, your contract code and your just a EUA opportunities, they basically coexist if you delegate it to the contract. And depends on, if protocols for example, Uniswap or Jumper, if they support another EIP, 5792 on the wallet side, they can also do this kind of a batching of transactions. So you can do approve swap, approve breach, or whatever. Or actually, another good example is revoke.cash, because now instead of sending a bunch of approval removals in the role, what you can do is you can basically just use a few checkboxes and just send one transaction, and it will just remove all approvals that you want, which is completely dope, and it was impossible before EIP7702. But on the other side, if you want to just do the transaction using MetaMask, let's say, right, because they support 7702, it will not actually use this smart contract code. It will work exactly as just your, usual EOA wallet.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
No, I mean, okay, so basically, your opportunities to execute transactions as the usual UAs are still here. So you can just do transfers. It will work exactly like as previously. No, headache for data analysts. So for example, yeah, if you go to our dashboard and open one of this retail delegations tables, you can grab some a random address, and you will see that, okay, sometimes they actually do transactions when from and to is the same address, but sometimes they actually execute it as previously. For example, okay, they interact with USDT contract to transfer USDT, or something like this. So it's kind of like about, yeah, like coexisting stuff. You still can use the code for, yeah, let's say like MetaMask delegator contract, or you can just use usual EOA flow.
That's a good how to say clarification on the definition. So like one first question, right? Like after understanding what it is how has the adoption looked like after 1 month of feature being shipped? I remember I like pulled it up from our past episode where me and Boxer and Christine both placed some bets on like, but well, that number was looking at 6 months adoption, but like pretty much basically we were using this metrics to like say how many type 4 transaction percentage. So it's from a different dimension compared to like delegation percentage, but the Twitter poll said 6 months ish 43% people think it will be above 20%, and I was saying, oh, it's going to be above 20% probably, and Boxer was saying it's going to be under 20%, and Christine was even more bearish, said under 5%. And I put it up like a few days ago, the type 4 transaction was only 1.1%. Like this is 1 month after. So it's like the outlook is not as optimistic. And like I think that Boxer was right, because the point you were making back then was saying like this thing is like people existing user may not really care, and like if they're okay with to put up with all the UX, why would they all of a sudden switch to this? And it's only if there is like a major onboarding event by like a retail apps or like some kind of consumer app that will likely shift this number largely. So I think, yeah, that was an interesting look back. But speaking of the more, how to say, like mainstream metrics to measure the adoption, we've seen both Wintermute dashboards and like also other like wizards who are looking at the EIP, like Coffee and others are measuring by the wallet delegation percentage. So with that, I would appreciate if Igor, you want to jump into the dashboard and give us like a whole walkthrough of what you guys looked into and how does that number look like right now.
Okay, yeah, I actually don't think that we have percentage of wallet delegated. We're just looking at like raw numbers, but still, I think it worth to comment this. Okay, so yeah, this is our dashboard. We obviously started with like Ethereum adoption, and down the road we also added some like multi-chain support, like pretty basic, but still. And on Ethereum, for example, like at the moment, what we see is that in total, we have around like 300K delegations to various contracts. But to be honest, if we filter like for addresses, like check validities or this, boring 7702 stuff, we'll find that only 237K addresses actually delegated something. This is only like on the first glance, seems like, yeah, like good numbers and everything, but there is a catch here. We also decided to check to what contracts these delegations were done. And what we found is that basically around like, 78% to date are basically delegated to what we call the crime category. So just, without like technical details, what we did is we checked like the bytecode of contract. We tried to understand what it's actually trying to do, because obviously for the crime category, contracts are not verified. And we saw some, like patterns, like for example, okay, a lot of delegations to this like crime category, basically from addresses that in kind of like a leaked databases, or let's say like some compromised wallets, to extent that it's even like labeled on MetaMask, like compromised wallet one or something like this. And I mean, obviously, just based on how this contract works, we found that it's pretty old like scripting game. Probably Dunning also know about this like from the Flashbots background, but basically if your key is leaked, and let's say you're trying to add some ETH and move some tokens or something, and the guy who's also controlled this key, he can just try to front run you and withdraw this ETH. Or like another example here is, for example, some guys whose like USDT, for example, were like blacklisted, as they have, let's say, like 1 mil of USDT on address. What these guys do is they share the like a private key or like a seed phrase from this wallet. They just think like, yeah, guys, like you can grab this money, like 1 mil. What's the deal? And then you can see how various like retail guys trying to add like $5-10 for gas. And this gas is basically momentarily using Flashbots bundles or any other like private meme pools swept to the address of like bad guys. So we found exactly the same pattern here. And basically 7702 made it even easier. So instead of trying to snipe this deposit to the address, now the funds could just automatically be redirected to the bad guy. And yeah, to be honest, it's like quite unexpected that so large amount of authorizations are under this category. We also found that, you know, there is like some competition between various like I don't know, like coin theft gangs, or call them whatever you want, when basically various addresses trying to delegate their code to this like compromised wallet and sweep funds to them. So it's kind of like a cat and mouse game. Probably another like cool thing is we not just analyzed the bytecode and found out how it works. We actually recovered this code on Solidity, and we verified the contracts on Etherscan. So all people can now see, you know, like the warnings that, okay, like if for some reason you delegated to this contract, then it's like really bad. Just like, you know, call white hat Flashbots and they will help you. But yes, that's kind of the current state. Another interesting category is obviously like retail wallets. It's around like 14% now. It's mostly MetaMask, a bit of Embar, as well as like OKX. And yeah, we also saw some what we call like service transactions. So for example, like Whitebeat is a centralized exchange. What these guys basically did is they put the same code to all like deposit wallets to basically kind of like do the same sweeping, but to, let's say, like hot wallet of the exchange, or for example, to just call all tokens in one transaction to the hot wallet, which is quite nice. And also remember me how it worked for like Coinbase. Like if you remember, they started to use smart contract for withdrawals like 2-3 years ago, just, I don't know, probably to not overpay in gas costs. Which was kind of nice innovation. So I assume we can see more similar behavior from other centralized exchanges as well. Yeah, we also kind of calculated how does transactions under delegation looks like. It's exactly about the previous point I covered, right? So like it's about the transactions when people actually use the delegated code instead of just, you know, let's say like sending USDT transfer. I wouldn't say that it's like a lot. It's around like 500 transactions on ETH per day, which is still kind of like a good start anyway. As well as, yeah, like there's some stuff like comparison between 4337, like this off-chain bundling entry point stuff against 7702, and we can see that actually there is some really good adoption against like 7702 transactions, and they actually started to kind of like take the market share of all this like paymaster 4337 things. Probably another interesting data point is we also took a look at with what protocols that's like 7702 wallets actually work. There was some like a really good kind of like the website, I think it was like Swiss Knife, kind of like a 7702 beat or something, with the data about the support from retail wallets as well as from the websites. Probably like the issue is that it should be updated manually, but what we did is we actually started to take this data from on-chain. Yeah, I would say it was kind of painful, you know, like looking at traces, exactly the stuff Danink mentioned. For some reason today, some guys were labeled universal router contract from Uniswap to the splits one. It should be fixed, but basically the top adoption is on Uniswap, as well as like jumpers. There's also like Euler, and people actually have better UX without now they don't need to sign all this like approve and swap stuff and like everything. And I think we're still quite early here, and we'll see even more adoption was from retail wallets, as well as from websites. And to finish this, like some quick insight. I mean, do you have a question?
Oh yeah, I feel like it's very loaded, so maybe I should like make a cut here to just clarify a few things. So
Okay.
the first part you explained that like when looking at distribution of the delegation, the data looks like it's showing that it's 80% of the delegation actually goes to the crime enjoiner, or like basically hackers who are trying to sweep the wallets. And then like to clarify here, it's not saying EIP7702 enabled a new type of crime. It's just saying it somehow become a handy tool for the hackers when they want to drain the wallets. They just gonna leverage this and just gonna be one click and just like drain all kinds of tokens. And like, is it possible some of those are like white hats too?
Yeah, of course. It's actually much easier, I would say, like for the white hats, because again, like you don't need to have like any gas. You just need to have a private key from wallet to give the delegation. Then you can deploy, let's say, like specific white hat contracts that will do, I don't know, like unstaking from Lido or from Curve or from whatever, and moving the funds to the safe address. So yeah, like for sure, white hatting is much easier with 7702.
Yeah, right.
I have another question. The
Yep.
Crime and Joy contract has been targeting ETH specifically. Do you have any idea why are they solely targeting ETH and not like ERC20s or NFTs or whatever? Because I mean, it is a very valuable asset, but there's others. Is there any reason? Like, does EIP 7702 not allow as easily to allow for other tokens? I'm not saying it should happen. I'm just saying, like, I'm surprised because crime and degen stuff are like usually the first to catch on the trend, and they've done this in a way I wouldn't have expected.
Yeah, okay. No, actually, the reason is a difference between ETH or BNB as a native coin and tokens. So basically, when any contract receive ETH or BNB, it can do some operations, right? Like it can call some other code. So for this reason, if your EOA is delegated receive ETH and you want to, let's say, move this to your Gnosis safe, you can do this. It will be like automatically rerouted to your safe. But with ERC20, because basically it like under the execution still of, let's say, like USDT, you can't do this because your wallet has completely like no idea that it received anything like any USDT from, let's say, Boxer. Because all this data is inside the storage of USDT, right? There were like some attempts, to have like the hoops and stuff, but it's kind of like a dangerous. So for now, like having the support for any like ERC20 transfer is just not so helpful, to be honest.
Okay.
For drainers.
Yeah. I say the example of Drainer because that's what is prominent right now, but obviously that means later on it also applies to everyone. What you can do is not just to them. They're just the first to dive in, I guess.
Yep.
And then like one of the thing you showed, like where the Whitebit exchange was having all those transactions, was it like the exchange is getting hacked because their hot wallet private key is leaked, or is it like they're leveraging it to distribute batch of deposit or something, just to make sure?
Yeah. I just like mean that they use this for actual like consolidation of funds, right? Because usually it's one user, one deposit address, but then exchange also need to move funds to their hot wallet. So now they can just call, let's say, like one function and automatically take all funds from like 10, 50 deposit addresses to hot wallet.
Got it. Thanks. Right. And then so the second part of this dashboards, we're diving into like the contracts that are being called by these transactions. And you're saying like the biggest, like the splits contract is actually Uniswap router.
Yeah, it is.
I see. Now, how does this match up with like the that percentage of delegation by the crime enjoiner? Because like, would they show up more like a transfer, or would they show up in this like Uniswap swap? Or
Oh, that's actually like really good
it's
question. Sorry.
I guess it's all possible, like depending on how their contracts are. Like they could be dumping in the transaction as well.
Exactly. Like in some cases, you probably will not even see any trace of this, unfortunately. So probably like the only way is to check, like balance changes. In some cases, yeah, let's say again, like ERC20 logic or something. Yeah, you can see like in traces, okay, there is a call of the contract code on this address, and we just do whatever.
Cool. Feel free to go to the last part of the dash then.
Wait, let me jump in here. So some of these interactions must be the MetaMask retail users who actually kind of like authorized or delegated to a smart contract, or like to a 7702 contract.
Yeah.
And now they're swapping via the Uniswap router, which is falsely identified as splits here. I'm sorry. This is a ridiculous Dune problem where somebody has falsely submitted this and somehow a decoding team has slipped up. But now so the difference in user experience for those MetaMask users now, like, is that just like they no longer have to go through approval and then swap? Or like what is the actual, like, what is the difference?
Maybe honest here. I have actually like no idea because I haven't tried 702. Like I can only like say this just based on like on-chain data. So on-chain data it just looks like you use some like proxy contract that batches your calls. I assume that you basically like sign the full how to say this, like you just sign the full batch of actions you want to execute, and it's just handled by like MetaMask. But yeah, to be honest, yeah, it's funny, but I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a classic. Like, I bet none of us has like actually
Yeah.
done like any 702 transactions. So it's just like that should be like the first thing we do before doing podcasts about the topic. But somehow it always works out like that. But I would assume that MetaMask has now kind of abstracted away, like you actually interacting with the chain and other. Like you're just like, okay, let me click like it's like our Robinhood experience. Where you just like click button, trade is done, everything like is just like smoothly executed in the background for you. At least that's what I would hope. We should definitely go on an expedition into MetaMask land and try this out ourselves. Or I don't know. Did anyone see like marketing from Rabby or any of the like Zerion or any of the other like wallets?
No, but
Not
like
sure.
my
I
guess
heard-
would be that it's not looking like a simple signature. Because if it just looks like a signature that's like the usual stuff, I think it feels less scary than it actually could be. Like the potential of like EIP7702. So hopefully, I hope there's like some disclaimers on like the MetaMask app or something that you could be authorizing some malicious contracts to trade your wallets.
I think what happens is you authorize the MetaMask contract. Like they actually have deft some EIP 7702 compatible contract. You authorize towards that address, and then like once you've authorized your own address to like function with the 7702 contract from MetaMask, then they can then you just have to give one single signature, and that contract can do a whole bunch of stuff for you. That's the right way to understand.
Yeah, no,
right?
no, that I get, but like, if they allow for authorizations to other addresses, I'm just hoping there's a disclaimer. You know,
Yeah,
is that not a
okay.
thing?
Yeah,
They
I
don't.
would hope.
Oh, they don't allow for. Okay, wait,
No,
they don't. Or they
it's
don't have a
walled garden.
disclaimer. Ah, okay. Well, that's maybe a good thing. Okay,
Yeah, definitely a good thing.
for now.
So Igor, any theories on? So like this is probably like this is meta. So what we're seeing is basically like if you scroll up a bit, there was like a bunch of retail users who like actually, who actually delegated wallets, and it's mostly MetaMask. So MetaMask is somehow leading innovation for once.
Also,
Oh,
how are you
Yeah.
labeling the wallet?
So and then those MetaMask users are probably the ones who are kind of like they're swapping via the Uniswap router, they're bridging via the Li-Fi router, and then what was the third thing on the list? I don't even. Was that some game or
like
something?
Euler, it was Euler. Uh, yeah, it was Euler.
Euler.
Yeah, I mean the thing here is how it executed is basically depends on the wallet when you do this. Like for example, MetaMask does like quite nice thing. So you kind of like delegate and execute what you want in one transaction. And yeah, if we talk again about like data analysts, so what you need to do is just basically check nested traces and see like what actions this user trying to do. Because again, like in most cases, let's say Uniswap again, you will see like, okay, there is like an approval and there is the call to the contract, to the router contract. It's like, it's quite simple, but other wallets like OKX, for example, they have a completely like different flow, which to be honest makes life not so easy for us. But I think like down the road we'll have, I don't know, like top 5, maybe like top 10 wallets that will lead this way. And we will have, like spells or something, right? Like for all actions. So it will be like really easier for anyone to figure out what users trying to do.
One follow-up here. How are you identifying the wallets, or are these all like the on-chain router of the wallet swap functionality? Because they might be different concepts, right?
No, I mean, we're exactly looking for traces that were created after the interaction with the code for this delegate. So let's
Mhm.
say you interacted with your own address, but this time you also sent some code, and this code executed some actions. And then usually, like, okay, let's say again, like for Uniswap, it will be like approve and also swap. So you just need to go like one level deeper,
Mhm.
find what traces were caused by this call and use them. But there is also like gas sponsorship. And in this case, the trace could look like completely different. And to be honest, we still didn't check for this kind of like edge case for now.
Okay, got it. But like, just to drilling down this, like when you label here like delegated contract MetaMask, is it like how to say oriented towards like a MetaMask swap contract, or because like how can you have like on-chain footprint of this transaction came from the MetaMask wallet, Because like the wallet doesn't really have like a information on chain say this transaction come from Rabby or MetaMask, right?
Yeah, but on the other side, okay, so it's just like purely from analysis of type 4 transactions, because all of them, they have this like authorization list. So you can
Mm,
see whom delegated to what contract. And then you can
got it.
just go to all these like delegated contracts and find that like, okay, let's say like this is MetaMask. I mean, you can assume that maybe some, technical users or OKX, I don't know, users will try to use the MetaMask, but I
I
think
see.
like likelihood is quite low.
I see, I see. So this contract actually has like a wallet watermark. That is actually pretty crazy because like in the past, there's no way to track on chain which wallet provider it is. But like EIP7702 actually has this watermark. It's pretty cool.
You can through DEX trades. Like if you've identified like the routers each
Yeah,
wallet
yeah.
is using.
I mean, but that
So
only covers the swap.
yeah. No, I agree. But we could also see something that could be interesting is those are authorizing like the crime enjoyer contract. If we could like look into what wallet is also authorized by those addresses, maybe we can pinpoint like maybe this specific wallet has a UX problem that lets people authorize for theft when it probably should be more of
Uh,
a disclosure or something. I don't know.
To be honest, my theory is that it's just executed fully like automatically by bad guys because they already have, let's say, like list of 1 million of leaked private keys. Using these private keys, they can create this delegation authentications. Yeah.
I think what I understand is there hasn't been that many active hacks. It's just like the most delegations that are being made on chain at the moment is from people who already have drainer wallets, or they found some database of like leaked private keys, and now their whole game plans basically, I'm gonna deploy these drainer contracts across whatever 270k addresses, and now that makes it easier for me to kind of like drain like if somebody tries to like get the whatever like USDC out of there. If somebody thinks like, hey, there's like free money to be made, I'm sure we've all gotten that Twitter DM of like, hey, here's my wallet and here's the private key, and then you look at the wallet and there's actually like whatever $25 in there, but like you would like, I think you
Yeah,
tried to
yeah,
explain this earlier,
exactly.
where like as soon as you move any gas token in there, they would just kind of sweep this. And this is the exact use case that they're now optimizing for. They've just gotten more efficient. It's probably like easier to run this on an infrastructure level if you don't need to kind of keep like millions of keys in your memory and then like, I don't know,
Yeah.
batch the transactions or whatever, but rather like you just have a smart contract that does all the work for you. You still need to probably figure out how to like actually execute a transaction. But okay, so that's all the crime. And like I think if you read the headline, it like the headline that went through the block and stuff earlier this week, it might seem like, okay, there's like active crime. I didn't read the article like that in depth, but like that was like my first thought when I don't know, I read the headlines. So I'm glad we could clear that up.
Yeah.
But okay, very interesting.
Yeah, like for example, like some concrete example is if somebody got drained in the past, but like maybe they have $70 on Avalanche in a token, but there's no AVAX there, and then they like the whoever needs to drain the thing needed the gas there. Now they can enable that 7702 in that chain where they didn't have the gas token and just swipe it out somehow as well, like within one transaction. It's possible that all these old wallets who got drained could also be actually long time wallets who's getting a lot of airdrop. And now all these airdrop, once it lands in the wallet, it just instantly get drained and automatically by the hackers as well. So yeah, it's sad.
Hackers or farmers? I mean, if I were to, run an airdrop farming operation, that could also be handy.
So like, is there anything you Igor you suggest the user can do to mitigate this, or anything we can how to say think of to avoid this situation, or like, and also in general, like, does that mean EIP7702 is a mistake, or that is like,
No, absolutely no. Like 772 is not mistake. Because I mean, like what we see now is, yeah, like the majority of kind of like delegations from guys who are trying to sweep the same set of addresses, right? It kind of doesn't cause a lot of harm, like to real users because uh, again, like retail wallets, they decided to go the walled garden way. When basically, if you MetaMask user, you can delegate only to MetaMask wallet. If you're OKX user, you can only delegate to OKX wallet. And I assume, like for all other, yeah, let's say even some NPC wallets for institutions, if they want to like improve the UX, it also will work in the same way instead of just giving anyone an opportunity to delegate to like any contract. So I actually like think that the amount of like good things and how it will improve the adoption and the UX flow for users. Yeah, we will definitely like see more adoption with time because for now it's not just stuck by retail wallets, but it also not supported by, yeah, let's say like websites. Because like, what's the point to have, let's say, delegated MetaMask code if you use, yeah, I don't know, like OpenSeas that, let's say, don't support like the transaction watching. I mean, there is no value for you, right? Like only probably some small contract risk on top of the risk you already have. So it's fully about the adoption on the websites and probably, yeah, like wallets like Rebi also will add their own contracts and we will see even more adoption.
Another contrarian opinion I've heard about EIP7702 is that it's a useless, EIP because all these gas sponsorship or like batching can be done by bundling. Like, say if you send a bundle sent to like block builders, it actually can also work the same way. Would you agree with that, or if you have any opinions?
Yeah, actually, I rather disagree here. So the first point is basically with all those like bundles and like entry points, you have a gas overhead from action, especially like if you're the only guy in a bundle. So kind of there is no like cost amortization here. So that's the first point. The second obvious point is that basically there is no need for this additional infra. You don't need to have like a paymaster and like everything. I mean, it's also still possible to reuse some of 4347 infra for like 7702, but and to be honest, yeah, some retail products, I think Dynamic, for example, decided to go this way as well for more like gas sponsorship and abstraction. And yeah, and I think like another point is that basically everything is maximally native, kind of like enshrined in a way. Instead of just like signing messages, you just still use the same MetaMask as previously. You can just basically like reuse your old address you used from 2020 or something, just with some new functionality.
Yeah, I agree. And I think also like as of today, it's not all the block builder are supporting the gas sponsorship feature. I believe Titan supports it, but not like other major block builder yet. And also overall, it's like still slightly more gas efficient if you have one transaction versus like 100 transaction when you have really complex actions.
A few months ago, we had, delegate smart accounts essentially pop up and be a thing. I mean, it's been a thing for a while, but I feel like there's been a resurgence in the past year or so. How do you feel about, I feel like it's a different kind of use case, but which would you say maybe makes the other obsolete, or is that not the case at all? Would you say that both still have their use case or not? Which would you point, devs to use if you had to choose one or the other? Yeah.
I mean, like from my understanding, in some cases you can just like reuse your 457 smart accounts. There's like not a lot of difference. It's just about the flow, right? Like with native 7702, you don't need to have like an entry point and all this additional the codes that will not be executed. But from what I saw, like for example, like MetaMask, they use their like smart account as a base for work, like for 7702, and they like added feature. And I assume that other guys just kind of like are doing the same in a way. But yeah, as like recommendation, I would probably try to chill 7702 stuff. I mean, for me, there are not a lot of drawbacks, at least in the current state, even in the current state. I assume down the road we will see if there are, like any, security considerations or something. But for now, I mean, if you just like use MetaMask and you give an approval to their like delegation contract, it shouldn't be an issue or yeah.
Yeah. Well, one example I'm thinking of is Abstract, which I don't know if you guys have looked into at all, but essentially it's kind of on the face, at the surface, kind of a walled garden. It's still an EVM chain, so you can do anything. You can create use it as other EVM chains, but on the surface, the way it's intended to be used by the team and the way it is catering to users is kind of like an Apple-like experience where you have an app store and everything, and it is all done through smart accounts. Would you say that you could do the same thing with 7702, or is smart accounts still the base use case for that kind of thing?
Okay, so from what I remember, like Abstract Chain is like basically like ZK Sync
Yeah,
fork or like ZK Sync like chain, and they have
Elastic
a bit.
chain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like Elastic Chain, and they basically have kind of like is their own a bit like modified version of like account abstraction. Uh, I Yeah, I mean, like theoretically, it should be possible to have kind of like a similar experience on Ethereum as well. But I'm unsure that you can have this with, let's say, like MetaMask, for example, because you still need to sign the stuff. And it's also about uh, what kind of value do you have on a wallet, right? Like if we talk about abstract chain, like, yeah, for example, yeah, people like play some games, yeah, they can also like trade meme coins if they want and stuff. But like on Ethereum, yeah, you probably like farmed something with like a lot of funds and you don't want to have, session keys
Yeah.
or like auto signing for like everything. So I think it's also kind of depends on the use case.
Yeah, I think it's a user dependent thing where do you want to have your hand held and therefore smart accounts
Yeah.
probably makes more sense, or do you want to be, some cypherpunk guy who maybe wants all the freedom?
This has been a very insightful discussion about EIP7702. Thank you, Igor, for taking the time, and thank you for publishing research, public research. Always much appreciated if people share their stuff publicly instead of just keeping it within the audience. Yeah, is there any last words you wanna share with the audience?
I think, yeah, I just want to like say thank you. And yeah, as well as like thank you in general for looking at this dashboard. We really try to, provide some kind of like exotic exclusive data, but still, like in an open way available to everyone to analyze and learn some stuff from us. Because yeah, it's kind of like motivates us to publish like even more stuff. All of these discussions, they're like extremely helpful. Thank you guys.
I want to add one last word is that I have so much respect and so much like gratitude to people who work in like the security domain, who are like white hats and like really helping the people who are, victims from the hacks and stuff. So just shout out to the work.
Shout out to everyone. You've listened to the next podcast. Thanks for listening. Show this podcast to a friend, and we'll catch you in 2 weeks. We'll record a bunch of live episodes in Berlin, so be excited for that. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Crypto data wizards, come join us for the parade. From Bitcoin ETF to Solana meme coin trade, uncovering public secrets in the blockchain shade. Bad chiller, cherry picking liar. We call them out and set chart crime on fire. Index podcast, crypto data empire.